heard me tell the story of when they brought a bunch of professional CrossFit athletes out to SEAL training.
Yeah.
And these were people who are really good at performing in a very specific set of circumstances. But you get them outside of the circumstances that they're used to, essentially get them outside of the classroom, get them outside of the gym, get them cold, hungry, tired, chafed, wet, covered in sand, and their performance cratered. And to be trained for something means you're ready to be tested in it under any circumstance. The level of effort required to learn is very small. You can sit there on YouTube and be entertained while you learn lots of stuff. But to be trained in it is painful. And that's why you've heard me joke, like the military is good at making things that are really fun painful because they made them training. Scuba diving can be fun. Military makes it very painful. Skydiving can be fun. Military makes it very painful. Shooting and explosives should be really fun. Military makes it painful. Why? Because it was always about training. Right. We didn't do stuff like even like driving trucks in the desert. Like we would do things till you were exhausted, and that was on purpose, right? Like who wouldn't love as a man, and probably plenty of ladies too, who wouldn't love as a man to like be driving vehicles that you're not responsible for in the desert, just like ripping around. It's like we're just gonna go do jumps and stuff. We would do that until we were tired of it because it wasn't. We're not here for fun. We're here to train. We're here to become great at these things. And so one of the big differences between learning and training is the level of effort required, right? Like when we did dive training in the military, like I really enjoy scuba diving. I have all kinds of certifications. Scuba diving's fun when you can actually see underwater, you know, it's daytime and the water's warm, but we never did that. All we did was dark and cold training, but we would spend a lot of time in the pool doing really basic things. Take your gear off, put it back on underwater. Now I've been through civilian scuba diving and that's called ditch and don. You do that like a couple times in the military, and really a pass is like you didn't drown and you got your gear back on.
For scuba training?
Yeah. Oh, right. That's really all it is. That if your gear comes off, that you can get it back on, right? That you don't lose your weight belt. Like there's a couple very simple wickets to pass a ditch and don for civilian scuba diving. In the military, it was the same as with the firearms, right? You miss one tiny little step, you're going to pay heavily for this.
Right.
And that was so that we could perform when we were tested, right? Like you learn the same things in civilian training, but they're not preparing you for testing.
Right.
This is the same, like when we would go work with police forces in the military. I have so much respect, honor, and mercy for police officers because the military spent years and millions of dollars training me to do what often police officers are put in a position where they're required to do. And that's when we would go train with police forces. Like a lot of times, the reason we were training with police forces is because all these cities all over the country, they own these great training grounds and we wanted to use them. And it's like, hey, let us use your training ground and we'll spend an afternoon with you and do some knowledge transfer. We'll train with you if you just let us use your space. And we would train with some of these guys. Like, man, it was heartbreaking to see the level that these guys are trained to, just because they don't have as much time. They don't get trained as hard. They don't have as much standard. They don't have the leaders that are showing them this is what right looks like and then doing thousands of reps. For example, I mean, police officers, I think that the average police officer shoots maybe 50 to 100 rounds a year of training. They don't get to shoot.
Wow.
But yeah, because it's budgets. I think a lot of police officers shoot on their own dime, and that absolutely varies. We'll have, people that email the podcast and say, I wish I got 100 rounds. And then there's going to be other police officers that email us and be like, oh, we get 100 rounds a month, right? A lot of that has to do with budget.